Greetings, Bapo family. Bapo, believe ambitiously, persevere opportunities outstandingly. Today's topic, helicopter crash. A helicopter that Iran's president, Mr. Ibrahim Raisi, along with his foreign affairs minister, was traveling in, was crashed. And it was reported that they died. They died from such crash. And there were several countries that assisted, but first on the list, I must say, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Surprisingly, they first decided to assist. It could actually be a gesture of goodwill, cognizant of the fact that there were conflicts between Iran and Saudi Arabia throughout the years. They don't see things eye to eye, per se. There was even, at one point, Iran used drones, several drones, to destroy the oil field, Saudi Arabia's oil field, So there was some rivalry throughout the years. But interestingly, Saudi Arabia to the rescue, sent helicopters to assist in the search. And the question is, was such act an act of goodwill, or it was an act of guilt? Many people will assume that Mossad agents, Israeli intelligence agents, had something to do with such crash. And, it is easy to think such a thing way away. But I don't have the Israeli intelligence as a suspect at this time. I don't. It could be an accident, of course. But if it's not an accident, if it wasn't an accident, there something don't seem right, and Israeli intelligence agency wouldn't be my suspect at this time. It actually, my suspect would be the individual that goes around with initials, with certain initials. You go around with 3 initials, you're represented by 3 initials. Because if you look at it, the whole accident, who really have motive? Or, several people may have motive, but if we look at it in depth, look at it holistically and try to understand what really transpired, we'll understand that most likely it's not Mossad agents really involved in such crash, if there was any form of involvement. But, sometimes a person don't understand, a lot of people don't understand how things work. And probably just like a student of the 48 laws of power can understand these things, because once an enemy cannot be a friend, so to say, an enemy cannot be a friend. And not until people realize that that's how life goes. They can pose as a friend but work as a spy. But they will always have the same agenda. Agenda never change. So, how I look at it, is that if it was an accident that Mr. Raisi and his foreign affairs minister killed, if it was accidental, I can only say mashallah. It was God's will. But if it was any form of foul play, it would naturally, my first suspect would be the individual that represented by the initials, Mr. Initials. He is, it's a political chess. I can quote from former Prussian general and military strategist Sir Karl von Clausewitz. I always try to quote Mr. Clausewitz, and he stated that war is a continuation of politics, and he was telling the truth. Indeed, it is a continuation of politics, because if we look at it, Mr. Raisi, Ibrahim Raisi, President Ibrahim Raisi, along with his foreign affairs minister, was killed in the helicopter, right? And there are certain factors that we could look at, and if I was investigating, if there was foul play and I was investigating, if I was trying to find out or ascertain certain information to find out what really transpired, I think I will find who responsible or who was responsible. But let us just look at it. It was reported that it was a crash, and the source or the cause of the crash remain unknown. So let us just treat it as a crash until more information unfolded, and the truth, the truth will come out, because there will be investigation to see what really transpired. And if there was they can't find any such information really to understand what really transpired, unfortunately unsolved. But it seems very suspicious, and a lot of people maybe saying, I even saw a post like online where someone said, like, individuals will end up the same way, like, but that is not something people really should rejoice over, people death, and because we all have to walk that road at some point in our life. But they are trying to put it like, the person was trying to put it as if God was, God destroyed because of Israel, and what, this whole stuff like that, people will end up the same way. The person was trying to say that people will end up the same way like Mr. Raisi and his foreign affairs minister if they go against Israel. And this is not a healthy way to look at it, because, and not the right way to look at it, because when certain utterances like this can cause can make matters worse, and you can't be saying, I don't believe that such statement justify is a rational, was a rational statement, because how I look at it is that it was a crash, right? But if you are going to put it, someone going to put it and say, yes, God is the cause of this because the Iranians rise against Israel. It's just how we look at it, because we can all say other stuff. We can say other stuff to that might seem, offensive or anti-Semitic, statement towards Israel as well. But that is not the right way to go. But how I look at it is that the Foreign Affairs Minister and President Ibrahim Raisi, who were killed in such plane crash, a helicopter crash, sorry. You know, I can only make some suggestion going forward. And, you know, if it's God's will, I will just make these suggestions. And hopefully they can make changes in their policies going forward, and, you know, for a more inclusive society, a society that can benefit all, a society, you know, for the improvement of their citizens. So as a gesture, since we are in the reasoning about goodwill, a gesture of goodwill, why not this transition, since Mr. Ibrahim Raisi was killed in the plane crash, in the helicopter crash. Why, going forward, I can only make suggestions as to, by saying the first thing can be done is try to re-establish diplomatic ties with countries considered enemies, and particularly the United States of America. First gesture of goodwill is like a prisoner swap. Agree to a prisoner swap. Or if there is no, you know, I'll try to come to some form of agreement to a prisoner swap, and as an act of goodwill. So it is of utmost importance that diplomatic ties re-established, you know, because we have to understand, you know, there's a saying, no man is an island, no man stand alone. You have to have alliance, you know, you have to have alliance, powerful alliance. And you see, if when I heard the news that the helicopter crash and they were, you know, killed, I was, wow, this, you know, political chess. This is like the game, you know, it's like a game. And a lot of people may not even realize or understand what really transpired. They just see it as a crash, and they maybe they can't look beyond. They are looking at probably Israel and saying, most of the agents must have been the one has something to do with such crash. But sometimes, you know, enemy so near and we're looking very far. Sometimes our enemy is so near, you know, right under our nose, and we are looking elsewhere. So how I look at it, let's just hope that it was accidental and there was no foul play. And because if there's any evidence that there was some form of foul play and it lead in a certain direction, you know, the Middle East will not be a place of coexistence, but rather a Middle Eastern war, you know. It won't be a normal place. So I just hope it was accidental, and going forward, I hope Iran re-establish diplomatic ties with the United States of America and re-establish diplomatic ties with other countries, you know, because, you know, if you're not this, you know, you cannot really outshine the master. The first law of the 48 laws of power state, never outshine the master. And everyone I see try to outshine the master, end up really the same way. Yes, so Bapu TV, I am out. Blessings.